It's time for Media Watch now. James Creedon is with us in the studio. Good to see you, James.
Likewise, Laura.
You're going to take us back to one of our top stories tonight. Huge protests in Hong Kong. And this is about a bill which would allow extradition from Hong Kong to China. People in Hong Kong are very worried about getting tied up in China's very murky legal system and what that would entail. And you're going to talk about the censorship of coverage of that.
That's right. Now, just like last week for the 30th anniversary of the June 4th Tiananmen Square crackdown, the censors in China were busy at work. Again, Laura, this is a headline in Abacus News.com, and they are talking here about the extent to which Weibo, the biggest social network there, has been really scrubbed of any content about what was the biggest protest on the streets of Hong Kong in a decade, about 1 million people according to some estimates. And what you can see here is some elements on Weibo. Now, what you can see is because if people mention this openly, their accounts are censored or taken down. So what one person has done here...
Be in trouble.
That's it. What one person has done here is they've put up a little emoji of a petrol pump with HK. Now, that means basically adding fuel to the fire, which is a way of saying we support what's happening in Hong Kong and we want to, people are using all sorts of creative ways to get around that. This is
but they wouldn't be able to see the pictures of what's going on, presumably.
Unless they have a VPN or unless they have some extra method. But generally speaking, people are unaware of what's going on. It's certainly the major networks in China, the major news outlets have almost no coverage of the event at all. There was some mention in Global Times, which is essentially a government mouthpiece, titled, and it mentioned Hong Kong's overall situation, so kind of a wink at what's going on, saying it won't be shaken by opposition groups colluding withed West.
Oh yes, that's right. The Chinese line is this is all being stirred up by foreign powers.
That's right. Amazing levels of interference here, fueled by interference from Western countries, and also they're saying that the numbers were hyped. Now, a couple more tweets on this. This is the Premier of Taiwan, now, saying that we stand with Hong Kong and that as long as I'm president, one country, two systems will never be an option. And so there's a lot of support there coming from Taiwan. Indeed, Hong Kong's authorities being criticised for this bill. This is formerly of France 24, now Hong Kong-based journalist Oliver Farry, saying that Hong Kongers find that Taiwan's leaders are looking out for them maybe more than their own are, and not for the first time.
Carrie Lam has got a lot of criticism over this, hasn't she?
That's right. That's right. Now, a couple more elements on this. This is a screen grab from a UK paper, The Independent, about a Chinese writer who was jailed for 10 years for writing a gay erotic novel, right?
Wow.
And this Hong Kong-based Twitter user is saying China's attitude here is, don't worry about this extradition law. It would only be for serious crimes with sentences of more than 7 years in jail, which could include writing an erotic novel, for example, right? And
political crimes, economic crimes, all those kind of...
That's it. And I'll just finish with this tweet here. This is a British-based, Chinese-born writer and also dissident, Ma Jian. At the Hong Kong Literary Festival in November, a friend accompanied me at all times for fear that I'd be secretly kidnapped and smuggled to China. If the extradition law passes, any critics of Xi's regime could be legally, openly abducted. It would be the end of freedom in Hong Kong. So lots to say on that on social media, unless you're in mainland China.
And talking about crackdowns on journalists, you're going to take us to Russia. We've just been talking about Ivan Golunov, who is an investigative journalist who has just been arrested in possession of drugs and accused of drug dealing. His lawyer says they were planted there. Right. And the Kremlin actually has said it is looking into it because there does seem to be some questions about it.
I think what's very important here is the backlash from the media. And it's actually, if we're talking about it abroad as well, it's because the media is really taking a stand here. These are 3 dailies in Hong Kong. The RBK Group, also Kommersant and Vedomosti. And what you see there on the front pages is We Are Ivan Golunov. Now, Ivan Golunov, as you said, was in prison. Reports that he was beaten up. Yeah. Then he was released again because of all of the brouhaha about it, and he's under house arrest now. But he is actually based in Latvia, Russian language media, because he has been speaking out about corruption. Even Moscow's deputy mayor. So he's been a very vocal voice, a very vocal critic, rather, of corruption in Russia, and people just do not believe these drug possession charges. In fact, 5 of the 6 photos that were released showing a drug chemical kind of lab in his apartment were shown not to have been taken in the apartment. So it does look like this could have been trumped up, and it could be an effort to silence a critic of powerful and rich people in Russia. So it's good to see, I think, this pushback by the media.
Which is very rare in Russia.
Yes, that's right.
Very brave man. Let's hope that his fortunes change soon. All right, finally, people are going metaphor crazy over this one. Emmanuel Macron, the French president, gave Donald Trump, the US president, a tree, and they touchingly all planted it together.
That's right, it was lovely.
In the grounds of the White House. And sadly, it has died.
Right. So what happened was, according to AFP, it had to be taken away, dug up, if you like, and put into quarantine. These are the laws, right? And it then died in quarantine. So of course,
was it a diseased tree all along?
Well, we don't know. There's all sorts of theories, Laura, but certainly the metaphor and the symbol is kind of grabbing headlines
you can't
everywhere.
miss it, can you?
Friendship tree is dead. R.I.P. friendship.
Dead in a ditch.
Of course, we know there's been lots of tensions between the two presidents on all sorts of issues, from the Iran deal to the environment, across the board, trade as well.
Tariffs,
of course. But of course, everyone's been joking about this. This is Guardian journalist George Monbiot. The trees, no. And what else do we have? People talking about pathetic fallacy when nature imitates life, if you like. If there was a draft of a novel, the editor would be marking with red pen, this is a bit too much, you know. I mean, we don't need this.
Bit obvious.
This level of symbolism. Some people sharing this book by a Republican strategist.
That's subtle.
Who a lot of people have been saying that, you know, did Trump
written by a Republican as well.
Did Trump manhandle it? And others even speculating that, you know, anyway, we won't go into all. There's been a lot of speculation. You see, if people are talking about the headline of that book in relation to the tree, others then have been sharing images.
What's happened to that glowing ball?
Oh God, let's just hope it's not what happened to the tree happening to the planet Earth in time to come. That's too dark.
James,
we'll end it with that. But
yes.
The symbolic death of the tree is generating a lot of comment today.
I think I don't think Trump was ever really impressed with that as a gift, to be honest with you. But anyway, all right, we'll move on. James Creedon there. All right, moving on to our focus report this hour.